Let me start this video off by saying something controversial. Now, we all know that the UK government taxes you when you earn money. They also tax you when you spend money, and they tax you when you save money too. And yes, you're probably thinking it, but I'm gonna say it. They even tax you when you die. Income tax, national insurance, VAT, fuel duty, council tax, capital gains tax, dividend tax, and inheritance tax. The list goes on. You're basically playing a video game where every single level has a super boss, and that boss is called HMRC. But here's the part that nobody talks about. There is one completely legal loophole in the UK tax system that lets ordinary people, just like you and I, build serious wealth and pay zero tax on their investments. Not low tax, not reduced tax, zero tax. No capital gains tax, no dividend tax, and no reporting to HMRC. And most people either A, don't know that it exists, or B, don't understand how powerful it actually is. I'm talking about the stocks and shares ISA. And I genuinely believe that this is the single biggest financial opportunity available to people living in the UK today. And in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly why this is. But before we talk about investing, you need to understand something. Wealth is not just about how much money that you make. It's about how much money you keep after you've earned the money. And here's the problem in the UK. Now let's say you make £60,000 a year. That's your salary. That's what you make every single year. You already lose a big chunk of that to income tax and national insurance. And then you spend your remaining money and you pay 20% VAT or value added tax on almost everything. Then you invest your savings. And let's say you're lucky enough to make a profit on your savings, you get paid interest from your high street bank. Well, now you're taxed again. And this is where most people unknowingly destroy their wealth, because investing outside an ISA means that you pay capital gains tax when your investments rise, and you pay dividend tax when companies pay you income. So the government essentially becomes a silent partner in your investment portfolio. And here's the scary part. Taxes don't just reduce your returns, they destroy any compounding that you're able to do. Compounding is what turns normal people into wealthy people, and tax interrupts it every single year. So what actually is a stocks and shares ISA? Perhaps you've heard the name, but you've never actually heard anyone break down exactly what a stocks and shares ISA is. Well, I'm going to tell you now. So ISA stands for Individual Savings Account, and the name is a little bit misleading. It's actually not a savings account. It's a tax-free investment wrapper. So think of it like this. The ISA is a protective bubble. Inside the bubble, you can invest in stocks, index funds, ETFs, and investment trusts. And anything that happens inside that bubble is completely invisible to the taxman. It's like it's got Harry Potter's invisibility cloak on. Your investments go up, well, the tax is free. If you receive any dividends, completely tax-free. If you sell any of your investments for profit, completely tax-free. Here's the sweet spot. You don't even have to declare any of your holdings, profits, investments on a tax return. The taxman simply doesn't have to know, and HMRC don't care. This is a legal tax-free loophole. But there is one key rule when it comes to investing inside a stocks and shares ISA, and that is that every single UK resident gets an allowance. So you can invest up to £20,000 every single tax year into your stocks and shares ISA. The tax year runs from April the 6th to April the 5th of the following year. If you don't use your allowance, you lose it forever. You cannot carry it forward. There's no rolling over. It's not like your annual holiday that you get from work where you can roll 5 days over. It doesn't work like that. So every single year that passes, you permanently lose £20,000 of tax-free investment space. A 25-year-old who starts now has access to hundreds of thousands of pounds of future tax-free investing capacity. But what about a 40-year-old who's delayed their investing journey and hasn't made use of the stocks and shares ISA? Well, they've already potentially lost hundreds of thousands of pounds in tax-free growth. Not to mention where that money could take them. Hundreds of thousands of pounds invested in Apple 10 years ago would have been worth millions now. Now let's talk about this compounding, and I want to show you guys why this is completely insane and unlike anything you've ever seen. And let's assume that you earn a very reasonable long-term return of 8% per year. This is typically what you can expect if you're investing in an index fund like the S&P 500. Now, after 30 years, you would have around £750,000, almost $1 million, inside your stocks and shares ISA. And you get to keep all of it. You don't pay a penny in tax. Now, let's look at what would happen if you would have invested outside of a stocks and shares ISA. Now, outside of a stocks and shares ISA, you would be liable for capital gains tax, and you'd also pay dividend tax. Now, over decades, this can easily cost you tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of pounds. So it's the same investing skill, the exact same positions and stocks, the exact same amount of effort, but a different tax treatment, all because you invested outside of a stocks and shares ISA and you didn't use your £20,000 tax-free allowance. And this would give you a completely different life outcome. Now, here's another myth that I want to dispel. I get hundreds of DMs every single year from people asking me how to invest, because many people feel that investing is complicated and they find it very difficult to even start investing, when in actual fact, it's not that hard. People think that investing is complicated. They think you need to be a financial professional or have some sort of degree in finance to start investing, or be a stock market expert. But the fact is, you don't. You don't need to pick the next Nvidia. You don't need to trade daily. You don't even need to watch charts. You can literally invest in a broad market index fund if that's what you want to do. And you can invest every single month inside an ISA. And already you'll be doing more than most people in this country. In fact, only a minority of UK adults even use a stocks and shares ISA. Millions of people out there save cash in a bank account earning almost nothing, whilst inflation slowly reduces their purchasing power. Now, the ISA is available to nearly everyone, but used properly by a surprisingly low number of people. If you're a resident of the United Kingdom, you have the ability to use a stocks and shares ISA and get £20,000 every single year invested in the stock market tax-free. Now, this is also really important. The UK has one of the most generous tax shelters in the world. Now, in the United States, they have the Roth IRA, and you can put $6,500 every single financial year into your Roth IRA, but their contribution limits are far smaller. But the UK gives you £20,000 every single year, and there's no lifetime cap. So you could theoretically build a multi-million pounds portfolio inside your stocks and shares ISA and never pay tax on it legally. And the government's already showing signs of tightening tax allowances in other areas. And this is why I personally believe that using your ISA allowance every single year is not optional. It's urgent, because once a tax benefit disappears, it never comes back. So at this point in the video, you're probably wondering, how do you set up a stocks and shares ISA? Well, I'm here to tell you that it's actually very, very easy. You simply choose a provider, open a stocks and shares ISA account, deposit your money, invest in whatever assets you want, from individual stocks to index funds to ETFs, and that is it. There's no accountant required, you don't need a company, and there's no complicated paperwork other than a W-8 form if you want to buy US assets. And you can even invest in partial shares. You don't actually have to buy a full share. But if you are investing, I want you to know that consistency outweighs the amount you're able to invest, because consistent investors beat part-time investors every single day of the week. But here's the real message of this video. The wealthy don't just earn money differently. They structure their money differently. They understand tax, because tax determines who builds wealth in this country and who stays stuck. Now, the stocks and shares ISA is not a trick. It's not some magical loophole that only a few people can access. It's not risky and it's not complicated. It's literally the government handing you a legal way to build long-term wealth tax-free on a plate. But most people ignore it. And 20 years later, they wish they hadn't. Now, if you live in the UK, this is one of the most important financial decisions you will ever make. And you don't need to invest perfectly. You just need to start early and stay consistent. If you found this video useful, please subscribe to this channel, because I break down investing in plain English for beginners. And if you want to see exactly how I personally structure my own portfolio and what I'm buying, click the link in the description, and I'll see you in the next video.